What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, and the overall markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total. And the offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, as far as the market's going, I want to mention to you all we have a nice double bottom on NIO, and we're trying to see a nice uptrend right here, so making higher highs and higher lows. There could be a small dip here to fill this gap back down to about 4.4 before this continues to uptrend back up towards these highs. And overall, it's doing a very, very good job. So the question is, what's going to be affecting NIO moving forward? What's happening with the markets, as the market's seeing a big sell-off right now. Let's actually break down some more details about this, and I'll talk about NIO. As a reminder, the whole market got a rug pull today as we got lots of bad news that came out. But despite that, there's still hope for the market to try to base very soon. NIO, of all things, still has a neutral rating from JP Morgan. It's not really much changing in terms of its data, but there was some talk about how they're hemorrhaging basically lots of like cash, if anything. I think it's very important to remember this that their deliveries are improving, if anything, when you look at like the overall picture, but they are getting criticisms when it comes to their January decline in sales. Despite that, there's a lot of optimism about their sales for the later months of the year. And as time goes on, this is going to be very, very important. They are dependent on external financing, at least for now, because of cash burning. However, I do believe that they're going to be once again continuing to improve that once we start to see them expand production. Right, when you have a lot of companies like this, there's going to be a lot of debt involved. It's going to take a while for them to actually get back to these higher levels. So we have to give this a lot of time. It's really just a marathon, not like a sprint. So be very, very patient, at least nonetheless, with this. And for the short term, there's a lot of optimism right now, which is helping the share price. So that's why it was due for some kind of technical move like this. Now, don't forget that today is Friday. Just know that we had some PMI data and everything was pretty much below expectations except for manufacturing. So we're seeing a big decline in business activity. We also saw one of the highest inflationary expectations reports we've seen in a while. So we are expecting a big increase in inflation. At least that's what the market's anticipating with the tariffs coming out and factors like that. So I wanted to make that very, very clear. On top of this, when it comes to the PMI reports, we actually have the data right over here. And unfortunately, we are starting to see some declines right over here. Optimism is slumping as costs are going up. And then we're also starting to see some changes. We're seeing business activity growth coming close to stalling in February, according to the Flash PMI report. And there's also, because of these new anticipations of tariffs that are affecting this and uncertainty involving governmental policies. This is what the report is telling us. Not the best of news. Manufacturing did go up, but besides that, prices are still in a place where they may continue to elevate. You guys can see they're starting to go up right over here, especially in the services sector. And then as time goes on, this is not the best of news for now. This could actually be a little bit more negative for inflation, especially because of service prices that are continuing to rise. We also have Donald Trump's tariffs that could be coming for Mexico and Canada very soon. They are scheduled to be coming out as soon as March. That's just about a little bit over a week away. So we'll see how it goes. If there is any kind of update on that, I will let you guys know. There's a little bit of uncertainty during these times. What else could have been affecting the markets is the fact that there's been a new virus that's been found. Um, in China, and it's been claimed that this is, it has the potential to, reach pandemic levels. However, what's good about this is the fact that it's actually not spreading. It's not necessarily out there. This was just discovered. So hopefully this doesn't spread and this news kind of passes by and this, is going to be fine for the markets. The market's going to likely see a little bit of weakness, especially as we get closer to Nvidia's earnings. But Nvidia's earnings are going to be the biggest thing, at least for Wednesday. So we'll see if that can help stocks improve. But nonetheless, NIO's on a bit of an uptrend. We could dip a bit to this 4.4 area before it continues to uptrend. I think that this may slowly get closer to $5 as we continue. For SPY is also looking quite interesting right now. We dumped quite a bit towards our 200 EMA, but the last time this happened, we did see this kind of dip quickly, only to bounce back up. So I anticipate that this might dip a little bit more. There's still a lot of fear right now. I'm going to be looking to see this like 597 to 598 area, and we'll see if we could form a wick where this 200 EMA is. So if we see a very, very quick move down and back up, that could be a sign that this is about to base and at least try a temporary move back up like this. There's a very, very good chance it tries to do that after so much downside. Hopefully the market tries to recover after that PMI report. For the QQQ, although this is dipping, one could argue that this may attempt to form kind of like a cup and handle. I think that we might dip a little bit closer to like this 200 EMA. So it might dip a little bit more towards 522 to 524 before it tries to bounce. Might be a little bit more downside coming. The Russell could also dip a little bit more towards this 215 area before some buyers return. ES has the same setup. We're going to be looking for 6,000 flats to be tested, a little bit more downside before it likely tries to bounce. On NQ, unfortunately, I think that 21,500 could be coming as well. And we'll see if we get a bounce off that or not. So we're going to be looking for where these wicks are. The 21,500 before some buyers try to return. For Bitcoin, Bitcoin's looking quite decent. Although we got this rejection here, we're going to be watching to see how we end up looking at this low. So we might be returning to about the low 95,000 here before some buyers return. So give it some time. For Nvda is showing a little bit of weakness. I do want to mention that there is the possibility of an inverse head and shoulders that could be forming. This might just be a temporary move down, but there's like a left shoulder here, possibly a head and then maybe a right shoulder that could be forming for this to bounce back up. We might dip a bit more towards like the low 30s before some buyers try to defend it, but I'm watching to see if this is going to be the case or not. Are we about to get a big bounce after earnings, or are we about to get a rug pull? Looking at Tesla, we've dumped quite a bit on Tesla. We'll have to see if we get some kind of break or not. Tesla remains at a bit of a downtrend here. We're very close to our golden pocket, but we haven't reached our 0.786 retracement fib level yet. Very close to like the very low 330s is where you could try to base. I do anticipate a bit more downside before it tries to see some kind of bounce. Lastly, for just a few more, we have stocks such as like Aapl. Aapl is also in a very, very critical place. Going to be likely touching 243. We're not nowhere near breaking key support. It's just a temporary dip that's coming before it tries to bounce. So I'm not really worried about that, at least for the time being. So let's make that very clear. I'm not really too worried, at least about Aapl or the others. Coin could be dipping closer to about 225, and we'll see if we bounce off that. Looking at like Amazon, we're seeing something very similar. There's a lot of weakness right now, and Amazon's chart is continuing to fall quite a bit. But we have a very, very strong support at 215. So if we form a wick here and bounce, we need to try to bounce at 215. It's a very, very strong support. Previous resistance becoming support. So I'm going to be watching to see if we can hold this level. If we do, that's going to be a good sign for us, at least moving forward. And if we do, I'm going to be looking for a retest of about 220. Meta has dumped quite a bit, all the way down to about 685. I think we could be tipping closer to about this imbalance, very close to like 675 before it tries to bounce. I would like to see that a little bit more downside towards like 680 to 675 before some buyers return and try to get us to push right back up. For Microsoft, I'm seeing something else that's very interesting. Microsoft's technically on a bit of a downtrend. We could be getting very close to about 404, and we'll see if some buyers defend or not. But there's a little bit of weakness here. And then last but not least, we also happen to have Google. So as far as Google goes, I just want to mention that Google is showing a little bit of weakness as well. The reason why we're seeing that is because of this decline and because of the potential tariffs that are coming. But the decline in business activity has led to some fears amongst the share price, and there's going to be a risk of us returning to about 180 flat. So I do see a risk of this gap to get filled here, 178 to 180 before it tries to bounce again. So it might be a bit more downside before some buyers defend in this market, but nonetheless, despite that, NIO is very, very resilient. It's doing a great job at holding up. There's a very, very good chance that it's going to be dipping just a little bit towards that like 4.4 area before it tries to bounce, and we still have a nice double bottom. So it might try to rebound once the time is right. With that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Have a good weekend. Get ready for Nvidia's earnings next week, and we'll see how it goes. Until I see you guys again, I thank you for listening, and peace out.